you are gonna see some cool ass shit.
Yeah, you don't want two Flavor Flays.
Heart transplants, brain surgeries. I've seen it all.
Dude, that's fucking dope.
Walk up and just get it, whatever it is.
Yeah, brother.
I'm trying not to laugh, bro, but Josh is fucking killing me.
Guess what Navy SEALs do, motherfucker? They communicate and they're on the same fucking page. We're live.
Welcome, everybody, to the Happy Hoodlums podcast. We got a very special guest tonight. We got Harvey Erwin in the house, and I got Zachary Sampson, the Meat Fortress himself. He got the chain, decided to catch the memo, so we're both wearing black t-shirts, although mine's silky smooth over here. The Backstreet Boy 2002 hair. Let's get it. So, Harvey, thank you for joining us, brother.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on. I look forward to this. I'm always happy to share my story with anybody that'll give me just a few minutes to tell it.
Yeah, man. Where'd that all start out for you? What was growing up like? I heard you're from Oklahoma, just like Zach.
Yeah. So I grew up in Oklahoma. Typical, I'm 35, so typical 90s kids. It was, riding bikes, playing kickball, playing baseball, fishing, shooting at birds. I mean, it was the typical Midwestern growing up. You come inside when the street lights come on. So I had a fantastic childhood. My parents split up when I was about 12 and stayed with my mom for a little while after that. But then I ended up moving in with my dad when I was about 13. So for most of my teenage years, it was just me and him bacheloring it up.
How'd that happen? Like transition wise, was that something that was decided like by you that you were like, I need my father figure?
Yeah, we just me and my mom just never have really seen eye to eye, and I think a lot of that is because I'm so much like my father. It's weird sharing my story so much and talking on camera. There's so many mannerisms because you see yourself. There's so many mannerisms that it's like, holy crap, I am just like my dad. So it's funny. But yeah, we just and it was just it got to a point where it was just a battle of wills, and I was tired of fighting that battle, and so I decided to move in with my dad, and we just, like I said, we just bachelored it up until I graduated high school and went to work.
I resonate with that. After my dad died, I definitely was like, oh crap. Like I always thought I was super different from my dad, but now I'm like, man, there's a lot of things that I catch myself doing that just stand out. And I'm like, that was him.
Yeah.
But so how'd you wind up getting into the oil business? Like what was your teenage years like, and how'd that transition kind of come to be?
Yeah, so there again, I've just followed in my dad's footsteps. He was a welder by trade, built dehydration units for natural gas, so these great big pipe racks and things. And then he was able to move to another company and get a job as a project manager. And he got me on, like the day after I graduated high school, I started working. At that time, I was working in their shop, running the forklift, material handling, servicing some equipment, learning a little bit of mechanicking, learning a little bit about the industry itself. And then I went to college for a semester, and I always hated school. So college, without having anyone kind of over me, like saying, hey, you need to go to class, you need to get your homework done, all that stuff, it just wasn't for me. And I saw the opportunity to make the kind of money that there was in the industry without going to school. So like, why am I going to spend all this money to learn something that I don't plan on using?
Mm-hmm.
So after my first semester, I went out and actually, so most of our work is done over the road. We travel to these job sites. So I went out to work on the road, and I was making, for a 19-year-old, I was making a lot of money. So that just further emphasized, like, why am I going to school to pay these people all this money when I've got, this check in my hand every Friday? So I went back for a semester, and after that, I was like, I'm done. I'm going to go to work, just go to work and work my way up. And my intentions at that time were to work my way up into being a foreman, having my own crew. And then I met my now wife, and I saw so many guys that travel for a living and being married, and it's just so difficult. Guys that
Mm,
aren't home all the time. It makes, you're not there to raise your kids. Not that the dad needs to be there all the time. I think there's a balance. The dad can be around too much, but when dad's gone for 3, 6, 8, 10, 12 months at a time, it doesn't lead to generally a happy marriage. So when me and my wife did get married, I came home and worked in our shop, and then just gradually worked my way up into the role that I'm at now.
dang, nice. Okay, so things are going good. We cue the music for the missus, and then you,
Yeah,
you wind
yeah,
you wind up needing another mountain to climb. It seems I'm kind of tracking with you. You're a man who
yeah,
loves this ladder process. So you know,
yeah.
at what point in your life did you find yourself kind of like, well, shit, I thought I should have everything, and there's aspects that are missing. I know you have a crazy transformation of your body, like, so at what point did that dawn on you?
So that's something that always nagged at me. So going back to growing up and when it was just me and my dad, I played football, baseball, basketball, played golf. I was always active, growing kid. So I was always hungry. And the easiest, cheapest, quickest way for him to feed me was we just went to buffets or all you can eats or, places like that. And I say this all the time. There's a barbecue place that's popular in the Midwest. It's called Rib Crib, and every Tuesday night they have all you can eat ribs. And every Tuesday night for at least 2 years, I'm telling you, literally every Tuesday night, we were at that Rib Crib and we would eat until we would basically have to roll out of there because it wasn't just ribs; it was sides. I mean, it was anything you wanted.
Yeah,
I have a competitive streak, so it was like and he kind of does too. So it turned into a game. It's like, well, who could eat the most ribs and who could eat the most that. So Chinese buffets, Golden Corral, and like I said, anything that had an all-you-can-eat option or a buffet option, because we didn't know. It was just like, hey, my dad was, hey, I've got a son that needs to be fed. This is the cheapest, easiest way. I would open the fridge probably 99% of the time, and there might be like some spoiled milk and a slice of Kraft singles cheese in there. And we didn't keep food at the house because if I was there by myself, I would just eat it. I'm a terrible eat out of boredom person. But I say all that to say I really developed a lot of bad habits in how I ate. But I was active enough that I was still overweight, but I wasn't as overweight as I have been. And then once I got out of school and quit playing sports, and I got married, I have a somewhat of a physical job, but not enough to justify eating like that. And you get comfortable, you don't have that mountain to chase, you don't have not out chasing girls and trying to paying attention to how you look and things like that. And, at one point in my life, I got as heavy as 350 pounds.
dang. How
And
tall are you?
yeah, I'm 6'4". And so that was a thing, typical Midwest guy, broad shoulders, you know, and people would say, oh, you don't look that big. You carry it well, you know, and then you kind of buy into it because that's the easy thing to do, right? It's like, oh, I'm not that big. And, I would see pictures, and there's very few of them. And the first one that I remember seeing, we had family pictures taken. My son was 2 or 3, and I was wearing the same size shirts that I had been wearing. and we were sitting down, and it looked like the button was literally about to pop off. I was like, golly, I am. And people had made comments, like, oh, you need to go on a diet, or dang, dude, you're getting big. And you kind of psyop yourself into like, I'm not that big. I carry it well, all the typical stuff that you tell yourself to justify how you look. And that's one of the things that I have such a problem with the whole body positivity thing is they preach, love yourself just the way you look. I couldn't do that. Like I was a miserable person. And I think that only makes it worse because all these people here are like, well, I should love myself no matter how I look, but I hate myself for how I look. So they just go down this spiral downward that, oh, I should love myself, but I don't. What's wrong with me? Well, you're fat. That's what's wrong with you. And you're not supposed to be that way. So I fought with it and fought with it and fought with it. And, honestly, and I really haven't said this a whole lot, but not last October now, but October of 2022, for whatever reason, I got TikTok on my phone. And that was like the height of Andrew Tate just blowing up on TikTok. And, he was constantly preaching about how you're supposed to be a man, you're not supposed to be overweight, you're supposed to be training, you're supposed to be in shape, you're supposed to be rich, all these things. And basically calling it like it is. You're a loser if you're fat. And like I said, I thought I was fairly successful for what I could see, but then once you start seeing that level of success, you're like, holy crap, like there's such a gap between where I'm at, where I thought I was to where, like, once I get to that level that I was at, I thought, oh, I can go anywhere, I can do anything I want, not have to worry about money. Well, I found out very quickly that that's not the case. But and it was just constant. Every video was another one, another one, another one, another one for a month straight. And finally, I was just like, okay, how long am I going to have to keep hearing this and feeling worse every day because of it before I just do something about it? So our wedding anniversary is January 8th. We went down to Oklahoma City, which is, about 2.5 hours. It was just a weekend trip. We actually randomly ran into my uncle at a restaurant. My wife took a picture of me and him standing next to each other and showed me the next day. And I was just like, that's it. Cannot keep living with myself. I didn't even like to take a shower because I hated seeing myself with my shirt off. Like when me and my wife would sleep together. Yeah, when me and my wife would sleep together, I kept my shirt on. Like I never had my shirt off. And that's probably maybe some people that are overweight, they don't struggle with that. So maybe I was just a little bit oversensitive to the fact of, having tits and a giant gut and all that stuff.
Andrew Tate got to that ass, son. You listened to
yeah, he did.
23,000
He did.
Yeah.
And I got to throw this in there just because people are stupid. I don't agree with everything that the man says. There's a lot of stuff that he says that's just to get attention. I don't agree with everything that he says. For whatever reason, in today's society, we can't just agree with some things that people are about and not agree with others. But when it comes to his opinion on being a man, I fully agree with. And it resonated with me. I needed to hear that kind of message. I know you and I have both been involved in different levels of Wes Watson's program. Another guy, he rubs people the wrong way, but he does that because that's the message that he needed to hear, and that's the message that I needed to hear. Not everybody relates to the same vessel of message. My wife, and I told her this the other day because I said something and she was like, I've been trying to tell you this our whole marriage. But my wife is the most positive person I have ever been around in my life. I've never heard her say anything negative about anybody. She is almost so selfless to her own detriment. Like she has no thought ever of herself. It's always, how can I make someone else's day better? But I had such a negative mindset, and I couldn't hear the message from her because she wasn't the right person to deliver to me. She didn't deliver it in a way that got through to me. I
Wes
needed
Watson,
someone to be,
tell that ass,
yeah,
bro.
yeah. I need somebody like Wes. I needed somebody like Andrew to be upfront, blunt, rude, crude, harsh. These are the facts. This is the truth. You're not supposed to be living like this. You need to change your life. So, like I said, and really, I didn't even know who Wes Watson was until about October of last year. So, I like I said, Andrew Tate came through. Um, Whatever his stuff went the way that it did, and he's not really mindset, fitness, and stuff. He's more on the money side. But then I ran across Wes's stuff, same type of deal. Then I'm on Instagram scrolling through reels, and I'm hearing Wes Watson, you know, calling people for having what does he say, halibut tits, I think.
Yeah.
And at the time I had lost a significant amount of weight by the time that I found Wes's stuff, but it kept me going because I've got this image of what I want to look like in my head. And like he talks about, that image is not something that I can change what my desire is. Like that image is put in my brain for a reason. Because to get that body, I have to become the person capable of having that body.
Mm-hmm.
I think so many people try to push their desires down because it's wrong to want stuff. It's not wrong to want stuff. Those desires are put on your heart because God knows to get that thing, you have to become the person that's capable of achieving that thing, whether it be a financial thing, whether it be how you look, whether it be the relationship, whatever that is, that's the vessel that leads you to be the person that you're supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that 100%. And so I can say for sure Wes Watson changed my entire life. Like, and
Yeah,
when he came
he's
into
done it
my
for
life, it was perfect timing, you know? Like I had lost all my muscle, so I was kind of in the opposite boat. But what's interesting, and I was talking to my homegirl the other day, and she was like, men get real emotional about food. Like we're really logical about a lot of things, but like we get straight emotional about food. And so I'm kind of curious, is there a portion of you that was ever like, damn, I miss my mom, or like I miss going to Rib Shack with my dad? By the way, like the Midwest buffet game is crazy. Like when you said all you can eat ribs are like my kryptonite. Zach knows
Yeah.
if I'm going out and I'm treating myself, it's probably gonna be some barbecue. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
I don't think there was an emotional tie to it other than maybe, like I said, the competitiveness. If dad would get up and get another plate, well, that meant I had to get up and get another plate. Or if, some buddies on the football team, um, you know, we might go hit the Chinese buffet up. And then it was just literally who could eat the most to make themselves sick, So it was not, and I like food. I can count on one hand the number of foods that I don't like. And it's like lettuce and fish. I don't care for fish unless it's fried, then I'll tear it up. But um, so that's another thing. Is like people recently, I've been catching a lot of flack. We're like, oh, all you eat is chicken and broccoli, which is not really true. I do eat a lot of chicken and broccoli, and carrots and Brussels sprouts and things like that. But I enjoy the food that I eat. Um, so it's like, oh, I can't believe you're eating that. Like, what do you mean you can't, like, this is good food. I like this. I like plain rice. I like chicken breast. I like all different types of vegetables, all different types of pork. I mean, there's very few foods that I don't like to eat. So that's, yeah, I don't know that it's ever been an emotional attachment. I have always enjoyed eating.
Okay, Roger that. I tell you what, it is funny though when you start posting things on Instagram, especially if you're calling people out for like transformations and like saying, "Hey, dude, you don't gotta." If they don't want to live that lifestyle, if they're not ready to envision it, they're gonna nitpick at stuff. And so it's like
Absolutely.
anyone that's actually done a program has understood a little bit about like how meal prep can become somewhat repetitious. But I think one thing that we do overlook is that in the wild, we never would have found the same food all the time, right?
Yeah.
So there's like the way that your body digests foods, and then like still, I think you need to treat yourself like there's going to be delicacies that you're going to run into along the way. But once you speak the language of food, right? Like once you learn about macros and things, it's like you look at food differently. All of a sudden, that rib isn't just the rib. You see how many, calories, or not calories, but really the grams of like fat that are in it, and you're like, oh, I can't
Right.
even touch that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, ribeye, I that's probably my number one favorite thing to eat. And that's something that if I'm going to treat myself, like you talked about it being ribs, I'm probably going to have a ribeye,
Mm-hmm.
because not that it's unhealthy, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of success eating a carnivore or keto type diet. Look at Brandon Carter, but he still tracks his food. That's what people like. Oh, how do you track everything you eat? Like, how can you get results without doing it? Like, I don't believe that you can. And even Brandon Carter, who's literally king keto, he still tracks it. He just fuels his body with fats rather than carbs.
Yo, Zach is super analytical when it comes to his approach to tracking. Like Zach will track everything.
Yeah,
Like
I
so,
don't. I'm very detailed. I try to hit everything within. Uh, I try to always hit protein, and then fats. I very, very rarely go over, and never more than like 5 grams. And then carbs, I try to get plus or minus 5 within. So like I try to detail, and that's the thing is I have to balance what's easy for me to, like meal prepping and things. And, since I'm trying to show other people that you can literally eat anything, I have to step outside of that and actually try different foods and use different things that fit the numbers, and because it's not just about me. I'm trying to show other people that you literally can eat anything you want. You just have to make it fit in your numbers. And people don't hear, right? They see, they react to emotions. So when I'm physically showing them all I'm eating is chicken and rice, well, they don't hear the fact that, hey, you can eat anything you want. They just see that I'm eating chicken and rice every day. So yeah, it's super easy for me and it gets me the results that I want, but I have to take on that responsibility of I'm trying to teach other people. So I have varied my diet. I have added things in, you know, I have gone um, and done the like protein ice cream, or low calorie ice cream, because some people are scared to death of giving up ice cream, or whatever it is. I asked the question here recently, like what are foods that you're afraid of giving up if you go on a diet? And one of the number one things that people commented back with was, pasta, carbs, things like that. And I was like, I had spaghetti, shrimp spaghetti for dinner last night. Like, you don't have to give up stuff. I always say it's like Tetris. You get bunch of different shape blocks. And at the end of the day, all you have to do is spin and flip and twist them where they all leave you with a level playing field. You can place them however you want. You just have to plan it out.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of explaining it to people. Have you had any transformations from people that really surprised the hell out of you? Like, what are some of the best situations you've had with clients so far?
So I
Because
haven't worked with a ton of people.
I was gonna say yours is
What's
fucking
that?
remarkable. Yours is remarkable, bro. Like
Yeah,
anyone
so
could look at your before and after and be like, Harvey did his fucking thing. Like,
yeah, so for anybody that doesn't know, I started off 2023, I weighed 335-ish pounds. And on December 29th or 30th, I hit 225. So I lost 110 pounds last year. And then I was actually talking to you about it with my Muay Thai coach the other day. He was like, "Would you look like a totally different person now from looking like a totally different person when you did, this time at the first of the year because I started training differently." I was going to from September to because I made a promise to a bunch of friends of mine that I was going to weigh 225 by the end of the year, and I was at that was September. I think I was like 265, 270. So I had lost quite a bit of weight, but I was still like, this is not the end for me. I'm still going. And it's some people that I hold in very high regard. So I was not going to not fulfill that promise to them. And so I was going either to the gym twice a day and, doing like resistance trainings, or I was going to the gym in the morning and then going to kickboxing class at night.
Mhm.
So 5 days
Hey,
a week, it was full on. Saturday and Sunday, it would be just a heavy workout session. But I wasn't training at the same level that I am now. Now I'm just on, the more of the bodybuilding routine, and the muscle that I put on from January to now is like I said, I look like a totally different person again than I did at the first of the year.
that's freaking awesome. I tell you what, you must. At first, when you said that, I was like, "That's a crazy pact to make." But it's cool. That's cool that you got people around you that not only mean that much to you, but encourage and advocate for you to really be your best version of yourself. So, shout out to you for having a high level circle, because that's really what
Yeah,
that comes from. Like, they don't tolerate
right.
less out of you. They're gonna, rather than count you
No,
out, they're counting you in. They're like, "Come on, get up." And that's
yeah,
really like what I'm so happy I got to meet you through, like doing some fitness coaching and everything with Wes, because that was super super rad. Like, just seeing like-minded people kind of elevating themselves.
yeah. It's almost weird because I have entrenched myself in a couple of different groups of similar like-minded people, and that's one of the things that I think also allowed me to get as big as I was I didn't have those type of people in my life. I didn't have guys that would be like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing?" Like Wes says all the time, "Love ain't lies," and people would just placate to, "Oh, you look fine just the way you are." And so I really that was probably one of the number one things that helped me make the changes that I did, over the last year or so now, was putting myself around a higher level of people, a level of people that demand greatness for themselves, but also they demand it for the people around them, because you can't be great and have people that aren't around you. Like it just doesn't work. You're the sum of the five people you spend the most time around. So I worked really hard at putting myself in the right rooms. Um, and one thing about me, and I've had everybody that I've worked with has made similar comment of, I'm coachable. Like, I understand that I don't know what I don't know, and the easiest way for me to do something is to find somebody else that's done it, and they say, "Hey, do this, this, and this." eat this, this, and this, and you'll get the results. And it was just like, okay, well, you look the way you do, I look the way I do, so obviously you know more than I do. I'll just do what you say, and it worked. I think too many times people, they go to someone for advice, and then they want to try to come up with an excuse of why it won't work, or they'll try it for just a little bit, and maybe they don't get results right away, so then they give up on it or whatever it is. It's just swallowing your pride, putting your ego to the side, and understanding that it's okay to not know something, but it's not okay to not pursue the knowledge.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Zach, you got any questions that you want to chime in with so far? Oklahoma boy to Oklahoma boy.
No, not right now. I'm just listening. Just taking it in.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm in full agreement with you, Harvey, about, stepping your knowledge up. What do you think some of the things that are like unique to your journey and some of the like knowledge that you've gained that comes through like your coaching? Like what are some of those tenets and things that are, that you're not hearing elsewhere?
Yeah, I think there's a million fitness coaches out there, right? But Einstein said that you can't fix a problem with the same mindset that created it. And I think that aspect is missed on 99% of people that are just doing fitness. They don't change the way that or obviously you can't change the way that a person thinks, but they don't give people the tools that they need to change how they think. That's why the crash diets are so popular. The peptides are so popular because it's a quick fix. Even, we see a lot of it with the different type of surgeries that people get. They'll lose 150, 250, 300 pounds. Well, then you see them a year later and they've gained all of it back, and a lot of the times even more, because they don't fix the original problem that led them to those habits to begin with.
Yeah,
So,
and it's
yeah,
worth mentioning on that point. The insides, like your organs, are still a fat motherfucker's organs. You still got a fat ass heart. Like you still, like
right.
you're all jacked up inside. So I just want to throw that out there because I don't hear a lot of people really mention that, and it's worth considering. Like yeah, you got lipo, but you still can't do a half a lap on the track. So
Right. Yeah, it's just they just see the number lose on the scale, and that's like I said, that's the thing with the crash diet. Like they just lose, especially with keto. This is probably not going to be a popular thing to say, but you lose a lot of your muscle because you don't have the carbs to feed. Keep it's carbohydrate. It hydrates your muscles. You don't have that, you're going to be just burning it all off. Yeah, you're burning fat, but you're burning your muscle too, especially because people don't want to exercise, which to me, exercise is 10 times easier than following the diet. But for whatever reason, people don't want to exercise. And I get it. I was the same way. So I'm speaking from what I know. Um, but they want the quick fix. They want the easy thing. And I tried it. I tried Manjaro. I tried it for 6 months. I didn't lose a pound. My blood sugar didn't drop. I could still go out and eat just as much food as I've ever eaten in my life. Didn't work for me. And that's another dangerous thing about it is people will try it and they won't get the results. Well, then the negative self-talk that they had is only amplified 10x because now they really think that there's something wrong with them. They really talk to themselves like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, what I do. I'm just supposed to be fat. I'm just, it's not even worth trying. So that's one of the dangerous things about it as well that a lot of people don't talk about. It's not a quick fix. It doesn't work for everybody. But what works is the work is living your life and changing your habits that will lead you to getting the results that you want. Show me one person that has dieted and exercised properly for 6 months and hasn't lost weight. I've never seen anybody have that issue. Yeah, they might plateau along the way, but from day one the end of that 6 month period, they will weigh less than they did at the beginning. You can't say that about people that take the weight loss drugs because it doesn't work for everybody. And you don't have to worry about the side effects that the weight loss drugs potentially cause. I made a reel about this, and I kind of got my hand slapped about it here the other day. Was the vaccine? There were so many people that were, oh, this is unproven. I'm not taking this. I'm not being the guinea pig for a vaccine. You can't make me take it. And then all these new weight loss shots come out, and everybody's rushing in line to get them. Like, wait a minute. The vaccine's new, so you weren't going to be the guinea pig for that. But this weight loss drug is new, and because it gives you a result that you want without actually having to go through what it takes to earn it, you're one of the first ones in line to get it. Like, and again, I was one of those people. Everything that I talk about is I'm talking to the old version of me. So I know exactly how they're thinking, know exactly how they're rationalizing their thoughts. I know it all because I had the same thoughts. And that's where I feel like there's a lot of great coaches in the industry, but I really feel like I can connect to the people that are massively overweight better than most. And I don't say that to say that nobody else can help them. I just feel like on a personal level, I can connect with those people. I can read their minds. I can literally see someone's face that weighs 100 pounds more than what they want to, and I know every thought that they have go through their head.
Yeah, that daily self-talk, because I would agree, especially like, dude, I never even would have considered someone sleeping with their shirt on as like a thing, right? So I'm very on the other side of it, where it's like I can go to
Right.
someone, in a heartbeat that was like, oh yeah, just eat whatever you want, you're skinny, like, or has been called skinny, because I also have a question. When you first got into like lifting and everything, what kind of numbers were you throwing up?
I was not throwing up like massive numbers. I've never, even when I worked out in school, I was never one of the strong people. Now, I had farm boy strength when it was grabbing hay and carrying sacks of feed and stuff like that. I don't know why it didn't translate, but for whatever reason, I was never like a weight room, power lifter or anything like that. I was always one of the weaker ones when it came to, we did off-season football. We had to do powerlifting, and I was always one of the weak ones. And I never cared about it. So it wasn't something that I couldn't have developed. It was just something that I'm not naturally strong at lifting weights.
Okay. No, that's a absolutely honest and awesome answer. I know there's definitely things like that. Like I had a mental block when I was younger where I did like construction stuff with my stepdad. So when I would be helping him with like odd jobs, he would just be like, get on the other side of like this safe or something. And we would like just be picking up.
Yeah.
And I get to thinking about it later, like, bro, that was way heavier than the stuff like in the weight room. But like all my homies were studs in high school. Like they would be benching like 300, 285, and I was like, is that what I'm like supposed to be? Because I'm just fucking not right now. I've mentioned on the podcast when I first got into high school, dudes had like full grown fucking beards and shit, and I was like, what? Like, is that me in 2 years? Like,
Yeah.
but I guess to kind of keep with that, I really think that in terms of your mindset and the people that you connect with, they're naturally going to be like gravitating towards that. I think you might be shocked though by like the more that you continue to do this, you'd be great for like younger dudes. Like I swear, because you have this like calm, like you got like rad uncle energy where like so could be like fucking up, and I could see you kind of help setting them right. So were there ever any like phases of your life where you found yourself kind of like buck wild, and what was that version of you like?
Nope, I've never been a wild partier. I honestly, it's funny because I've I've got a guy that's just been hammering me lately on Instagram about, "Oh, you're just seeking attention like a teenage girl, like blah blah blah." Like, dude, if you knew me, you would understand that attention is the last thing I have ever sought in my life. I've always been the person in the back of the room, never wanted anybody to even know that I was there. I've never been the life of the party. It just wasn't me, and I don't know how much of that is natural, and I don't know how much of that is also in the way that I was raised. When you're raised in the South slash Midwest, we always nobody wants to seem to claim Oklahoma. So some people say it's in the South, some people say it's in the Midwest. I think it's kind of a mixture of both. But being raised in this area, children are to be seen and not heard. Don't speak unless spoken to, things like that. So there were times, I've told this a few times, we were across the street at the neighbor's house one year watching the Super Bowl. And I couldn't have been more than 5 or 6. And one guy gets up and he makes a great play, and he gets up and dances. Well, I jump off the couch and I do the same little dance. And immediately both my parents were like, "Sit down, quit acting like that." Um, and then, a few minutes later, same thing. Guy makes a play, he gets up, and I start dancing with him. Well, that time it was go home. So like I said, we were just across the street, so it wasn't a big deal. But I had to go home and couldn't watch the rest of the game because I was I was just being a little kid.
That's
So
crazy.
I don't know how much of that personality was not beaten like physically, literally beaten out of me, but was suppressed about me, and how much of it is just a natural, not a huge personality, not a huge attention seeker. I think it's a little bit of both. But to answer your original question, no, I've never had a wild, um, crazy party phase or drug phase, or I'm very proud to say I've never used any kind of drug. I've, I've never been a big partier as far as drinking, a few times, but it's just something that I've never had a problem with. And
That's sick. Dude, it's
yeah,
got
I've
to be
never
a
had a problem.
Oklahoma thing because Zach's like that too. I was like, damn, some striking similarities over here.
I would
Other than
say
as a kid.
I would say that is not the norm for Oklahoma. Most guys start drinking beer when I didn't even have a beer till I was 19. Most guys are having beers when they're, you know, they might make it to 15 before they have their first one. And they just drink, and that's all they do is just drink beer. And, some of them get stupid, belligerent drunk, but some of them, like, it's just like pop to them. They'll just drink, instead of grabbing a Coke out of the fridge, they'll grab a Bud Light or, Coors Light or whatever it is. And that's what they have with their dinner. They have with their lunch. When they're grilling outside, they drink a beer. When they're at the lake, hanging out with the family, they're drinking a beer. It's just, it's very prominent in this part of the country for sure.
Do you find that as like one of the things that people that you're kind of helping really wrestle with the most, or are you
You know, I,
finding?
I haven't really had any interactions with people that have come to me and said, I know I'm drinking, and that's probably because I don't really talk about it a lot. I'll mention it occasionally that I don't think it's good for you, but I really approach it more from, the guy that likes to eat a lot. I don't like to drink calories, and to me, drinking is the worst thing that you can do if you're a person that likes to eat and, but is trying to maintain a certain body figure. So that's the only time that I mention it. I don't really bring it up a lot, and it's just because I haven't had that issue. So it's hard for me, like I said, I can relate to people that have 100 pounds to lose and really struggle with diet and things like that. I can relate to those people really well. It's hard for me to relate to people that have a problem with drinking because I haven't had that problem. So I don't talk about it a whole lot. I really think there are a lot of similarities to, drug abuse, alcohol, and food. I don't like using the word food addiction because I think the word addiction is putting an external power over something. But I think there's a lot of similarities, kind of between across those three areas. So not that I couldn't help somebody with that. I just don't talk about it a lot because it's not something that's on my mind. I've never struggled with it.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I like that you're like authentic and true to your story. It's not that you couldn't help somebody with it, but it's that you definitely have like a lane for yourself that I think, especially, bro, I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if there aren't a lot of corporate dudes that start hitting you, bam, 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 bam.
Yeah. Yeah, I was at a trade show the first of the month, or first of May now, and it's the same people that in our industry that have been in it for years. You see all the same faces. Sometimes the name tag changes on their company logo, but for the most part, it's a relatively small industry. And I bet I heard uh, no less than 10 times someone say, "Oh, dude, I didn't even recognize you." I would walk, there all the booths are set up in a row, and I would go talk to somebody that I would know. And I kind of intentionally did it, like, somebody that I knew would be kind of across the booth or something, and I wouldn't say anything to them. But then I'd walk back by, and they would like chase me down, and be like, "Oh my God, dude, you look incredible. I didn't even recognize you when you came by earlier." And most of them, what are you doing? How did you do that? And it leads to the conversation. But I've also came to the understanding, and because I was the same way, is people don't change until the pain of staying the same is greater than the perceived fear or pain of changing.
Mm,
So until that person gets to the point of, I literally cannot keep dealing with this pain. I don't care what it costs me. I don't care what I have to go through. I can't stay living like this. They're not going to change.
yeah, that you just said that so well. I call that the beauty of rock bottom, but
Mhm.
it's like that's where we really reinvent ourselves on that subconscious level because one of the things that took me a long time to accept, although I'm still, relatively young, I hold high standards for myself. So I was like 27, 26 when I realized I have a self-image problem. And I read this book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And it was written by a dude who was a cosmetic surgeon back in the day. And he couldn't figure out why these people wanted surgeries. And so what he found was that your subconscious mind is programmed based on your self-image, what you identify and say, I am fill in the blank. And it needs a definitive goal, right? And so you can't just say I'm healthy. Well, what does healthy look for you? So for you, you
That's
had
right.
like I am 225, and
Mhm.
you were already set up here, and all your decisions were steered that way. Where before, where you had no target, you're lost in the dark. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, and that's why, we talked about earlier on achieving something. Once you've achieved any goal, you know the steps that it takes to achieve anything. You have the blueprint already. You just change out the variables. I equate it to a math equation. You already know how to solve for X. It's just X means something different when you have the next thing that you want to accomplish. And like Wes talks about all the time, if you can lose 1 pound, you can lose 10, you can lose 50, you can lose 100. You just keep repeating the same thing over and over. If you've lost a lot of weight, you can start making a lot of money because it's the same process. You just change out the steps that you take along the way. You keep perfecting the skill, you keep building the muscle, whatever, however, your chosen path to make more money is, you just follow the same steps. You keep repeating the same process. Now, the thing about making money that I really feel like is one of the harder things to do is it's not as tangible as losing weight, in my opinion. Like, I know for a fact if I eat a certain way and really not even exercise, you can lose weight without exercising, but I know if I follow these steps, I will lose weight. And I can see on pretty much a week by week basis of the results. But when you talk about making money, you can keep taking the same steps and you keep taking the same steps. You might be 6 months into it, you haven't made any more money. I think it's easier to give up on something like that because there's so much external factors, right? If you're trying to build a brand or if you're trying to get a promotion at work or whatever the case may be, there's so many external factors of hitting your story just right or being in the right place at the right time, whatever the case is, that you just don't have control over. So I think it is harder to do that as far as maintaining the mindset of I don't care what the result is, I don't care what comes from this, I'm going to keep doing the same steps again and again because I know it's going to work eventually.
Yeah, I definitely think being result oriented is the way to go because it's really about like energy. Like when you understand that like consciousness is like an intent or money is like a conscious intentionality that you carry of like being of service. Like I really want to give to this world, and what you're doing, you understand the value of, which is why you keep doing it. And then as it grows, you keep looking at like, oh, okay, well, here's the next thing and the next thing. And then it just like comes to you. And I think that's why in a strange way, building the confidence is easier than trying to explain to someone outright, like, this is what you do to like make the money. And of course, there's levels to that shit. Like, that's why, I look at what Wes has done and I'm like, he is just at the fucking pinnacle of this shit. Just murder. So I always got to give, big salute to Wes because it's he's beyond rare. He's a one of one, right. And we all are, right? There's only one fucking Harvey. Like, only one of you exists. And you know how dope it is when you take that like professional ass picture. And I know how dope it is when I'm scrolling through and I'm like, damn, Harvey's at like a killer boardroom right now. What?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It's about tapping into that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think yes, he is killing it. There's no argument there. But I think a lot of the times people look at where he is now and they almost use that as a way to talk themselves out of trying to get there. They don't see how long it took him to get there. Now, he's done it incredibly fast. He's skyrocketed, but he's been living the same daily habits for how long?
Yeah, he was killing it in prison is what it is. Like, he was killing it before prison. Like, because when you take like a spirit of excellence, it permeates everything you do because it's who you are. Who you are is gonna, and who you become is gonna be what changes all the other factors in your life. And I think that's what you're kind of getting at, right?
Right. Well, and it's not conducive to view yourself from someone else's point of view when they've got years ahead of you. He literally has half of my lifetime in doing the same thing every single day. So it's not really fair to yourself to be like, oh, I've been doing this for a month. Why am I not as ripped as him? Or, I've been doing this for 2 years. Why am I not as rich as him? Well, because you don't look at where he's at now. You look at where he was at 2 years into the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Don't compare yourself to somebody. And I've one of the things that I've kind of used to make the changes to my life. I don't compare myself to other people. I have the ideal version of me, and that guy is always one step ahead of me. He's always doing just a little bit better. I'm always chasing him. So when I wake up every day, every decision that I make is what has he already done that I have to catch up with. And then the next day I wake up and I might have caught him the day before, but when I wake up the next day, he's ahead of me. He woke up earlier. He's lifted more weights. He's followed his diet even more strictly. He's done everything just a little bit better than me. So I have to chase him every single day. I'm never going to beat him, because that's what's so addictive of personal development and, you know, working on your body, working on your mind, is there's no limit to it. There's always the next thing that you can chase, the next thing that you can conquer. And if you picture yourself as that next thing, you're not comparing yourself to anybody else. You're comparing yourself to the better you. So what is that guy doing? How did he get there? You just follow him. You're chasing him every single day.
Dude, you just killed it on that. I tell you what, I don't even got shit to say. That was absolutely the
Yeah.
personal fucking fitness journey, personal development journey right there in a nutshell. And
Yep.
it's an interesting process that forces you to learn to love yourself, right? Because in this strange way, you're like, I have to be okay with the fact that I am not the final form, but I'm so down for what I'm doing right here,
Yep,
and
exactly.
I love this process of becoming that person.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and because not to rest on yesterday's wins, but like I talked about, where I have the exact job that I want, I live in the exact house that I want, I drive the exact vehicle that I wanted. You can't lose sight of you did that. Like, take just a moment to look back at everything that you have accomplished and realize that everything you need you've already done it. You just have to turn the notch up one more, because it's the next thing that you want. So don't
So,
take for granted the work that you put in.
what are some of the aspects of like fatherhood that you like wanted to implement, have implemented, and like that you saw were missing that you weren't able to do when you were out of shape?
Oh, dude, there's a laundry list of things that I'm involved, I'm present. I want to go do stuff. I want to enjoy I was I was such a miserable person. I never wanted to go anywhere. I never wanted to be around people. Um, I didn't want to be involved at all. And obviously I didn't have the energy to go out and, play catch, or, walk down to the neighbor's pond, or I didn't want to do any of that stuff. But now it's always like, hey, have your buddies come over, and a couple weekends ago, we had a tornado come through here. I don't know, a couple weeks ago now. So we've got limbs and stuff laying all over the place. I was like, perfect opportunity. If you have some buddies over, they can cook hot dogs and make s'mores, and we'll play wiffle ball. And never, never would have done stuff like that. My wife's had come up with ideas for kids to stay the night. I would literally sit in our bedroom with the door closed, watching TV the entire time, because I didn't want to be around people in general. Didn't matter if it was kids, adults, whatever. Um, and then I've shared transformation. Dude, my kid was looking a lot like I was. he was starting to get chunky face and a little bit of the man boobs and things like that. And that may be the best message that connects with me that Wes has ever shared is, if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not taking care of that pain that you have as a parent, you are just allowing your children to go through that same pain. I think that was the one thing that not enough people hit on. And that was the thing that, multiple things, but that's probably one of the stronger points that he really hit me on.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy that you bring that one up, because that was one of the things that I said earlier today. Because I was kind of thinking about it. I've been at the gym for, I don't know, over 2 years now, and I tell you what, there's been maybe 3 to 10 people that I've seen, like with little kids in the entire time. Like, I think 10's a generous number, but there's been a couple that I've seen, get some training and things like that. And I was thinking about my friend Joe Aguilar. Well, our friend. He's a boxer, and his kids are always at the gym. Anytime you go to the gym, there's always going to be some little kids running around playing with gloves. And you see them
Right.
model exactly what they're doing, and I just think that's so fucking important. So I was going for a walk today, and I was like, damn, because I was thinking about it. I was like, I love that my daughter's like, just in the stages of learning to crawl, but as soon as she's up and at them, like, I cannot wait to take her mountain climbing and snowboarding and all kinds of cool shit.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well, and that's the thing. It's like I have never said a word to him about eating right, about exercising, about, I started training in kickboxing about this time last year. I haven't said a word to him about any of that stuff. I mean, like, we talk about it, but not like, hey, you need to be doing this and that. Um, he wants to go to the gym with me. He talks about, getting. He's gotten where he's 5'6". He weighs 126 pounds. And when he started wrestling last October, I don't remember what his height was, but he also weighed 126 pounds. So he's grown. He's stretched out and he's really skinny. So he's always talking about, oh, I got to eat this protein. I want to get them gains, and um, so it's so impactful when, and the other day he talked about wanting to start going to kickboxing class with me. Like, you don't have to tell him. You just live your life and you be the best person that you can be, and they will naturally fall in line.
hey, bro, not only do I have to say hats off to you, like, how did that really feel? Like, I can imagine I would want to, like, with the before and after perspective, I would want to cry talking about that. That's like, because that's heavy duty. You just broke that
Yeah,
off of it by finding that in
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. Fortunately or unfortunately, however somebody wants to view it, crying is not an emotion that I have in me. I bet I can count on one hand the number of times I've cried since I was like 12. It's just something that my my grandma passed away almost a year ago now, and I cried then, but it takes a lot for me to get to that point. And it's not like I'm macho, men don't cry, none of that type. It's just not, it takes a lot for me to get to that point. As far as how it
Yeah.
makes me feel, um, I've shared some stuff on Instagram of him, being at the gym with me, pictures, and that's another thing. I kind of go off on a little side note. There's not pictures of us, my family. We had one time where we took those family pictures, the one I talked about earlier, where it looked like the button was about to pop off, and that was something that I was robbing of my family, of those memories. because I was so dead set against taking pictures. And now, like, I'm constantly pulling out my phone and, just recording the moment. It is weird, and I do kind of have the thought sometimes of like, are you doing this because this is what you want to do? Or are you just doing this because it's a good moment to catch on Instagram? So that thought does kind of creep into my head every once in a while, but it's because it's so foreign to me. That type of thought, I might as well have had a flip phone up until recently, as far as taking pictures and stuff, because it just never crossed my mind. But now I'm constantly pulling it out, taking pictures of that, recording this, recording that. So I've been able to share more of before and afters of not just me, but also of him. And I am incredibly proud of myself for the changes that I've made. But the pride that I have for showing him and him, and like I said, I've never preached at him or cut, like portioned out his food, measured, nothing like that. I've never, tried to influence him in any way. But to see him go through the same type of changes that I've gone through is 10 times more impactful and powerful than doing it for myself ever could be. Because I know what it felt like, man. I know what it felt like to be a teenager getting made fun of for having pepperoni nipples. I know what it feels like, and I know now that he's 12. I know he was just coming into that range of kids are brutal, and is it right? Is it wrong? That's another topic, but they are. And he was getting to that point, and had I not made the change, he was going to go through life the same way that I did.
Damn, that's so freaking cool that you cut that off. I'm gonna just throw in something just because I kind of nerd out on like the science behind things. The neurological pathway that his brain is wiring, because it has more neuroproteins right now, is going to truly change his entire rest of his life. And he's going to go through life knowing, like, I'm a fucking stud and I will not give up on this, because he got a taste. He got a taste of what it was like, because that energy fucking rubs off. Like, how did your wife deal with it? Like, I know she's Miss Positive, but like, just is she seeing the vibrance in you, and like, has that inspired her to go do, or allowed her to do more things? What's that dynamic like these days?
Our marriage has never been stronger. Our our love for each other. I went through periods where I didn't reciprocate the same type of love that she's loved me at points where she should have not wanted anything to do with me. Um,
Mm.
and I took that for granted for a long time. And by me, that's another thing. Like, dude, I could talk till the sun comes up about all the changes that I've made, or all the positive things that have happened because of the changes that I made. But my marriage is definitely right at the top of the list, because I appreciate who she is now. I appreciate, because she would always tell me, I think you're attractive just the way you are. But I didn't believe it, so I couldn't hear it. Same type of deal with her messages about being positive. And like Wes talks about all the time, life is a mirror, not a window. Well, if I don't see myself as that, even if if she does truly 1,000% bottom of her heart fully attracted to me, just like she said, I can't believe that, because it's like you see yourself in the mirror and you think, what? There's no way anybody could like looking at. I don't even like looking at me. How could she like looking at me? You know. So, but now I can accept that. I can accept her loving me, and it just makes everything so much more passionate, maybe is the right word, or I don't know. It's incredible.
I think you said earlier when you were talking about being present. I think that's cool
Yes.
because you can be right next to someone like that old every rose has its thorn. You can be lying close together but be a million miles apart inside, you know?
Oh, for
And
sure. Yeah. Yeah. And
so that
she has voiced that almost verbatim. I was always here because I would go to work, I would come home, I would sit on the couch and I would, get on my phone and scroll and scroll and scroll. And, I've kind of replaced those habits. I'm still on my phone a lot, but it's with a different purpose now, different intention. So, and we've had to work through that, because I'm not a very perceptive person, I guess. Like, I don't read people that well. And I don't take hints. Like, I'm very direct. Like, hey, if you need something from me, come and ask me, and I will do what I'll move heaven and earth to give it to you. But I can't read your mind. I can't read your emotions. Now, once they get to a certain point, anybody can read them. But the little hints and stuff, like I just there's a disconnect there. So it's been stuff that we've had to work through, but that's just like developing yourself. Anytime you're involved in a relationship, there's always something that you can do better.
hmm Well, I'm gonna ask real quick because I want to be respectful of your time. Zach, do you have anything that has come to mind? Anything that you want to ask before we kind of close out and let Harvey, tell people where we can find him and how the best way to reach him and talk a little bit about his program. If you want to throw out pricing too, feel free to do that so people know like how to get a hold of you and what to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like most things are pretty covered pretty well. I don't have a whole lot to add to most of it. So, yeah.
Roger that.
Yeah.
See, Zach's our stoic. He's the fly on the wall these days. So that's
Well,
good, man. That means that we covered just about everything. I'm going to give you the floor, Harvey.
man, I want to say thank you for letting me come on and share my story. Like I said, um, going from never liking to talk to people to I'll talk to anybody that'll give me 2 minutes of their time because how much better I feel. I wish there was a way that I could bottle that because I'd be a billionaire by the time I woke up. The improvement in how I feel is, I mean, it's just I'm a totally different person inside and out. But the thing about that is, if you could bottle it up and sell it, it wouldn't be worth it because the whole thing about it is I've had to earn it. And I feel like everybody's looking for the quick fix. Everybody's looking for the easy change, the guaranteed results. There's no guarantees in life. The only guarantee is that you wake up every day and you chase being the best version of yourself, and the results will be what they will be. Um, but I'm super active. The best way to find me is Instagram. It's just Harvey HARVEY _A Erwin ERWIN. So Harvey A Erwin with 2 underscores on either side of the A. That's the best way to get a hold of me. I do have an X account, but I honestly don't even know what what my username is on there. And then Facebook, it's just Harvey Erwin. So if you want most of the stuff I share, there are some things that I talk about on Instagram that I don't share directly to Facebook, but for the most part, it does go over there.
Right on. Well, I tell you what, Harvey, you've clearly changed your life in a dramatic way and for the best, and your family's lives. And anyone that is in need of that, that resonates with you, I encourage them. Hit you up, bro. You got a dope story. And thank you for joining us tonight to share it with us, man. We appreciate you, brother. You're Happy Hoodlum certified.
Thank you, man. And I enjoyed this. And anytime you want to do it again, just let me know.
Sounds good, brother. Peace.